Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Maria Diaz. I am a resource specialist at the New York State Language Auburn. We're housed at NYU. Today, I'd like to share with you some key instructional strategies designed to build the listening modality of entering proficiency level English language learners. I hope that at the end of this presentation, all of you will explore with me a variety of ideas designed to build the listening skills of entering ELLs. In addition, I hope that you will have a variety of resources as you continue to strengthen your instructional practices with English language learners. A key resource that I would like to introduce you to and that I will be using throughout this presentation is a wonderful book, which I hope will become part of your professional library. It's called Differentiating Instruction and Assessment for English Language Learners, a guide for K to 12 teachers. Basically, this book will look at all the 5 ENL proficiency levels from entering to emerging, transitioning, expanding, and commanding. It will offer the basic skills that a student at either one of those 5 proficiency levels is expected to perform. In addition, there will be a variety of instructional strategies that you can design to address and strengthen and move forward each one of those proficiency levels. And as with all good instruction, we have assessments, and there's a variety of assessments that you can also design to help our students along. So please, if you have an opportunity to look at this book and include it as part of your professional library, I really, really think that you will enjoy it and learn from it as much as I have. Now let's look at the typical skills that an entering English proficient L can exhibit as they start to develop their listening skills in English. This student may begin to recognize and state frequently heard words and phrases in the new language. So repetition on the part of the teacher is very, very important. He may require frequent restating of words or paraphrasing. He'll begin to develop an awareness of the English language sound system. Quite a challenge, as the sound system of English may be totally different from what they're used to with their first language. The student will begin to acquire the English alphabet and how language is written. Again, challenging will be directionality. Not everybody writes from left to right, top to bottom, the way we do. And this is very important. This L can start making connections from L1, his first language, to English. So if a student has a strong L1, the chances of them transferring their skills to English are greater. So seeing L1 as an asset is critical as we start our instruction with entering proficiency level ELLs. Let's continue with these instructional strategies to build listening. We recommend that when possible, you should try to learn keywords and phrases in the home language of the student and use these as a way to bridge communication. We also recommend that you're bridging communication with the student as well as with the parents. Props are a wonderful way to use and to aid instruction. These include any type of realia, pictures, graphics, diagrams, videos, visuals, recordings, and nonverbal communication. Use whatever you can to enhance instruction and to build those wonderful listening skills of our students. If they're interested in what they see, they will try to listen more closely, I think. Your language should be simplified, consistent, clear, free of slang or idioms whenever possible. We could save those wonderful idiomatic expressions as the student develops their listening skills along the continuum. You will have to repeat, you will have to rephrase as needed. Also, allow sufficient wait time for your students to respond. They have to process sounds that they may never have heard. They have to make these sounds into something comprehensible, and this requires time. By wait time, we're recommending anywhere from 3 to 8 seconds for that student to formulate an appropriate response. Another key strategy is to allow the student to think aloud. Encourage the student to say to you what they're hearing, what they're thinking as they're formulating an appropriate response. This may give you a clue of what you need to scaffold to move that student along. We encourage you to use basic commands by modeling. We call that total physical response. You probably will remember that from your study of bilingual education. This is simply using your body as a prop for your students to develop language. If you want them to stand up, well, you should stand up. If you want them to clap, you should clap. If you want them to sit, sit, etc. The use of scaffolding is absolutely required and recommended, as your ELLs will each one of them develop individually. There is not one strategy that will fit all of your ELLs, so you need to develop the appropriate scaffold so that you can differentiate and allow for different entry points to the academic content. Your own speech and language conventions should be standard and be representative of the English language that you want your students to learn. You must exercise frequent checks for understanding, either by body language. You could have the students do a thumbs up or thumbs down or some kind of indication to you that indicates that they are with you and they understand what you want them to do. When possible, your instructions should be oral as well as written. This will enable your English language learner to make the connection between sound and the written language. And just remember, our students come to us simply not knowing English. They have a lot of experiences from their home country. So it's important that you activate their prior knowledge and use that as a support as they're learning the new language and the new content. I have a few more ideas for you to build the listening skills of our ELLs. I would encourage you to teach those cross-linguistic features, those items that are present in English that may also be present in the student's home language. Let's look at Spanish, for example. Did you know that there's about 42,000 cognates between English and Spanish? Teach your students to be detectives, to train their ear to detect those cognates and use that recognition of the word to aid in comprehension. Look at the grammar. Do a compare and contrast between English grammar and Spanish grammar, as well as punctuation. As in English, sentences in Spanish start with a capital letter, they end with a period. Adjectives are used to describe, as in English. Verbs are used to promote action. So they're very, very similarities. And again, we spoke that an L will come with some kind of prior knowledge. Identify what that prior knowledge is and use that to build their second language. Certainly, before any kind of activity that you are introducing, you should review it carefully to identify any linguistic demands that you may have to front load. That includes vocabulary as well as anything that is not recognizable. For example, if you want the ELLs to listen to a recording of a monologue from Romeo and Juliet, you can do that. However, you need to preview any old English words that they may need, any sentence structures that may inhibit comprehension. So please take the time to look for those areas, those linguistic demands that may be troublesome. Front load your instruction and then have the students participate in the activity. Whenever possible, have the students listen to books in their home language. Definitely limit your error correction. Learning anything new will require errors, especially learning a second language when we're also offering or encountering so many challenges that the student is facing. When we look at a student's social and emotional development, we know that generally an entering L is very fragile. They're missing home, it's very unfamiliar, they have to make friends, they're living in buildings that are different from what they're used to. So they are already very, very tense. So you need to be compassionate and patient as they're acquiring the language and limit the error corrections only if they impede meaning. And above all, we encourage you to have fun learning English. Have fun with this new resource, this treasure that you're adding to the student. As promised, we have included some key resources that we think will be helpful to you as you develop the listening modality of your English language learners. I want to make a special note of Dr. Nancy Cloud, who has been with the Language Arbor for 3 years, bringing wonderful, current, state of the art professional development to our L teachers. You can refer to all of her presentations on our Arbor website. Make sure that you also refer to Engage New York, a wonderful resource for L teachers. There is also the footnote about the reference about the book that I spoke to you at the beginning of the presentation for differentiating instruction. We want all of your instruction to be standards-based, so refer to your next generation learning standards. You can reach us. This is our website, the Language Arbor at NYU. Also make sure that you refer to the New York State Office of Bilingual Education and World Languages website. These are all rich resources to help you as you endeavor to develop the listening modality of your ELLs. So thank you for your interest in our English language learners. We hope that the ideas we shared with you will be beneficial. If you would like to discuss this with me or share any comments, I encourage you to do so. You can reach me at mvd316 at NYU edu. So thank you on behalf of all learners, and please continue to do the wonderful job you're doing in these very challenging times of remote learning.